Okay, man, let's talk about the tax increment financing ballpark infrastructure plan for Montague County. There's been a lot of discussion about that. People who really want that are getting nervous. What's going to happen?
Well, there still remains some uncertainty as to what will happen with that. And let me give you a little bit of a backdrop as to what's going on down here and why it's not moving as fast as people in Mon County think it ought to move. Number one, it was a Senate bill that came over to the House several weeks ago, but we didn't start taking up Senate bills until Wednesday, I guess, of this week, when all of the bills had to be over here. So it was never going to be considered before Wednesday of this week anyway. But what's really happening, Hoppy, is I'm having to work with 99 other delegates that I serve with down here who don't believe it has the importance that Mon County think it has. And so these delegates who are from other parts of the state have things important to them, and many of them don't think that the TIF is a high priority, number one, because they don't see it as benefiting their area. So I'm having to work with those delegates to make them realize that it's a positive thing for the state because it'll be positive for north central West Virginia, not just Mon County. And so those same delegates want things for their counties too, and they see the Senate as being a hurdle for that, a stumbling block for those things happening, and they want to see the Senate provide some things to their areas as well. And so that's all part of the process here in Charleston, and we've got a few days left to take care of those things.
Do you believe it's an important project? Do you support the project, and do you want it to happen?
I do, and let me touch upon that, Hoppy. I know your Mon County Commission up there is heavily invested emotionally in other ways in this project. It doesn't help when they come out and publicly criticize people whose help they need. I don't care about the criticism because being an elected official, I get criticized all the time. But I don't know why without ever having spoken to me, they would come out and criticize the speaker, criticize me, and criticize other members of the House of Delegates. That's not really the best course of action to take if you want help from them. But I do support it. Let me make it clear. I'm supportive of it despite the fact that people in Harrison County, certain ones, are not supportive of it. But there are others in Harrison County who do support the project. So Tim Miley is supportive of it. I will do whatever I can to help make it happen, but it's going to take some cooperation from the Senate and from some of the other delegates I serve with.
Tim, let me give you kind of a down-in-the-weeds scenario because there are all kinds of things that are flying around about this. How do I want to phrase this? That there are always bills that near the end of the session that may be moving, but the people in a position such as yourself, and I'm not criticizing you, I'm making an observation, that you say, well, I'll run that bill, but you got to fix this other bill over here, that something gets held for something else. You wanted the magistrate pay raise. The Senate, not so much. And they've sent back a different bill. How much of this is also tied to that there are things that you want the Senate to do, and if they will do those things, then you could do the TIF bill?
Well, that is part of it. There's no question, Hoppy. From a standpoint of that bill that's of interest to many delegates, not just Tim Miley, although it came out of my Judiciary Committee, there are other members of House leadership whose counties are affected by that bill. The majority leader,
the magistrate pay raise bill.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay,
correct.
okay.
The majority leader's county is affected. The education chair's county is affected. The finance chair has two counties that are affected. So that's what I'm referring to when I speak of having to get other delegates on board with taking certain action, but in exchange for their support of something that they don't see beneficial to their part of the state, they want something in return. And that's where I'm trying to play the role of mediator and trying to work with Senate President Kessler to try to make something happen. But now, I know your listeners, and maybe even you, Hoppy, don't think that should be part of the process. But that's the process.
No, I get that
as well.
No, I tell you, I'm not. When that comes up to me and I explain to people what's going on, sometimes they say, it's just politics. It's a political body. I mean, I get that. I understand.
Right.
And there's give and take, and that's how politics work. And you can like it or hate it, but that's how politics works, and I get that. So I'm not critical of you for that because I understand that's how it works. I mean, there's a give and take. So that's the process. Given that, what do you think? And we just had Jeff Kessler on, the Senate President, earlier in the program. He said he used the word confident. He was confident that the TIF bill would pass. Are you confident?
I am, Hoppy, because I have confidence in Senate President Kessler, and I have confidence in the other members of the House leadership team with whom I serve. That at the end of the day, everyone will do the right thing to make things happen in West Virginia.
Do you need to kind of get together with Senate Finance Committee Chairman Roman Prezioso, and they redid the match pay raise bill? Do you guys need to get together and sort of sort this out?
I think it's helpful if members of House leadership and members of Senate leadership do get together, because there's too many things that are said outside of each other's presence and too many assumptions being made that are incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, that's sometimes what happens, too, and this bill, I think, has gotten to this stage where people are saying things, and people are, and people said, I know that there's some people in Montague County who want this, who think, should we talk about it? Should we try to call out Miley? Should we, what should we do? And I mean, that's where we are right now.
Well, and here's what people need to understand, and I know it's hard, but there are 54 other states, or counties, from which delegates hail from, 95 other delegates from those 54 other counties, and they don't get elected by Mon County folks. So criticizing people down here doesn't do anything to help promote and move the project forward.
Okay. But you are, again, are you confident?
I'm fairly confident.
That could be worked out over the weekend, Monday or Tuesday of next week?
Hopefully Monday or Tuesday of next week. It has to be out of the committees in the House by Wednesday to be reported, and then they begin the process of being read on the floor. So that can happen rather quickly, but there's other things, obviously, that have to fall into place. But I'm confident that cooler heads will prevail and that the project will proceed as planned.
A couple other things real quick with House Judiciary Committee Chairman Tim Miley. Tim, I think it's on the agenda for this afternoon, and that is the bill the Senate passed that would reduce the licensing fee for table games at the 4 tracks for 1 year from $2.5 million to $1.5 million. Is that on the agenda today, and what is your position on that, or what is your committee's position?
It's on the agenda. It's going to be pulled off the agenda. I've received a lot of comments from people. There's just not the support over here that I thought there once was. I don't have an emotional investment in that bill, but I put it on the agenda to get it over to finance so that they could assess whether it's a prudent road to take. But I'm going to pull it off, and I'm not sure there's any votes there to support that bill. So
in lay terms, since you pulled it off the agenda, does that essentially say, and what happens is, like you say, you put it out there and you see whether there's support or opposition, and the fact that you're pulling off the agenda, does that mean that the legislation to give that 1 year fee break is dead?
In all likelihood, yes, unless there's an overwhelming number of delegates who come to me and want it back on the agenda, but I don't anticipate that happening. So for all practical purposes, it's dead.
What about the Pendleton County casino bill? Is that the same, or what's the sentiment for that, or against?
I'm going to caucus with the Democrats on the Senate, the House Judiciary Committee to see what their pulse is on that. We have a member from Pendleton County on our committee who really wants that bill, but I'm not so sure there's the votes in the House for that bill either. We'll find out here sometime early afternoon. So I'm pessimistic on that bill as well, to be quite frank with you.
Delegate Tim Miley, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Tim, thanks for coming on. It's good to speak with you.
Thank you, Hobby. Take care.